Welcome, everyone, to Real Estate 360 Live. I'm your host, Ryan Sloper. For those of you not familiar with the program, my guest and I will cover every angle of real estate under the sun, from interest rates to the economy to what's happening in Washington. Anything that affects our local real estate markets will be covered here. If you got credit issues and you're trying to get them resolved so that you can purchase or refinance your home, reach out and call me. If you're looking to buy or sell your home and you're unsure of, where you should start as far as looking for a realtor, we can help you out with that as well. If you're looking to refinance at the lowest interest rates in pretty much the history of the United States, reach out to us. We can help you take advantage of those. The phone number, the off-air phone number, is 877-245-2030. That's 877-245-2030. That's the number to call if you got any questions. And if you prefer to reach out via the web, the website is reelestate360live.com. That's reelestate360live.com. And make sure you join us every Monday at 1580 a.m. from 9 to 10 in the morning. And remember, if it's real estate, it's covered here. We've got a great show lined up for you guys today. Joining me on our panel to discuss what went on in the markets last week, as well as what's on deck this week that can affect you and your real estate decisions, is Louis Cammarosano, who is the general manager of HomeGain. Louis is often cited in the media as an industry expert in the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, CNN Money, Fox Business, Smart Money, MSN, and numerous others. We're going to discuss with you about what happened last week, as well as what's up this week that can really change your real estate decisions one way or the other. Louis, how you doing today, buddy?
Good morning, Ryan. I'm doing just grand. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. So it looks like we've got a big week this week. Obviously, we've got the last presidential debate tonight, heading into the election at the beginning of next month. And, I really wanted to kind of start out the show by kind of getting your thoughts on, where do we think housing will go? And, since we are real estate specific, if Obama were to win the election, and where do we think housing would potentially go if Romney win the election, and or is it both in the same direction? Let's start with first Obama. If Obama were to win the seat again and he would become president for a second term, where do you see the overall housing industry going?
I don't think it makes – there's no point asking each question. From my perspective, I don't think it makes a stitch of difference whether Obama or Romney wins as to how the real estate market performs. I think Obama has thrown the kitchen sink at the problem with a bunch of government programs. None of them have made a real dent. The only thing that's going to solve the real estate problem, so to speak, is when all the inventory gets washed out of the system, and there's still plenty of it. So it's just going to take time. I don't think there's a government program that's out there that either one is proposing, and I don't think that they should. I think they've done enough damage, and I think they both realize that, and that's why it has not been a subject in the debates, and that's why it's not been a centerpiece of either one's campaign. What do you think?
Yeah, I tend to agree with you wholeheartedly there. I mean, And the reason why I really did want to bring that up is because, many are saying, how come they're not talking about housing? As you just suggested, they don't really want to talk about it. I believe Obama was on the Daily Show with Jon Stewart this past week, and he kind of, drilled them on, the HAMP program that he had set out, and that there was only been about $5.5 billion of the $50 billion that was set aside for his signature foreclosure prevention program, which is also known as HAMP, the Home Affordable Modification Program. And, in answering that question, he pretty much danced around the question, responding that, 5 million foreclosures have been prevented and a $25 billion settlement was reached with the banks. But most of the actual modifications that were done without the government incentives.
Right. So that's all going to work out.
Exactly. It just goes to show you that no matter what programs they could possibly create, overall they're not going to hold much weight. I mean, these banks are still in control of everything, and you're not going to really ever be able to force their hands to do anything.
You're highlighting a bigger issue, Ryan. I mean, the government is never in the best position to manage an economy. Look at the stimulus. They spent a lot of money there. It didn't bring the economy around. And then you can point to all the green energy programs, the $90 billion that was spent on that, and more than half of them went bankrupt. So the government is not the answer to the housing problem, nor is it the answer to our economic woes. It really is the problem. And we don't even if it was the answer, we don't have the money to throw more money at it to try to fix it.
Yeah, that's definitely true, and I think many are out there also saying, well, okay, Obama's program didn't work, and Romney's not talking much about it. What are Romney's thoughts? And I know Romney had at one point basically said that, he planned on selling vacant homes that were owned by the government, reforming Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and making foreclosure alternatives more available. But that's just very similar rhetoric from both of the candidates. At this point,
it's general discussion. I want more people to go to college. That type of. I want to hire more teachers. But no
absolutely.
Plan.
And I mean, I'm of the belief that we really need to let the free market do what it's supposed to do. And these foreclosures have to work their way out of the system. And like I said on numerous programs before, there's not near as many programs now because what's happening is that the free market is actually taking hold a little bit because we're starting to see more short sales. Banks are starting to get smart, and they're saying, we're not going to try to lose as much money as we would lose if we actually go all the way through with this foreclosure process. So we're seeing more and more short sales taking place today, which is a positive sign that we're headed in somewhat of the right direction.
And part of that, Ryan, is driven on the investment side, where investors are targeting short sale prospects, and then kind of working with realtors to make it happen because they will put money into these houses, they'll buy them at a good price, and they'll fix them up. So that's becoming another free market solution, is investors coming in and kind of forcing the hand of the banks to sell them the homes.
Yeah, and the solution to the overall real estate problem is not to create more programs. I mean, if you really wanted to, give a solution to the markets, it's to, help people that are trying to qualify for homes get in there. I mean, there was a study done, I believe it was by the Census Bureau, that showed the states that I want to say it was Mississippi. Mississippi has pretty much the lowest average credit score of anywhere in the country. It was something like around 605 or something like that. But yet they have the highest rate of home ownership anywhere in the country. And West Virginia was following closely behind in second. I think their average credit score was around in the 620 range, and they have the second highest rate of home ownership. Now, if that were to tell me anything, that says that it's not just as important to worry only about someone's credit score when you're trying to qualify for them for the purchase of a house. I mean, if those statistics hold true, you would really want to find out the person's ability to repay, and not as much on the actual credit score that the borrower has. Now,
the reason for that, Ryan, if you think about it, a higher credit score means that you have access to more credit. When you have access to more credit, you drive the price up. So in West Virginia and Alabama, I would suspect the average cost of a home is down because fewer people have access to large credit lines, so they live within their means and they have decent home ownership rates, and they probably have lower default rates than in areas where people have high credit rate, good credit scores or great credit scores, and they overextend themselves.
Absolutely, and it was actually Mississippi, not Alabama. I just wanted to correct you just so the listeners know. Mississippi. So, you are 100% correct with that assumption, Lewis, because they actually broke down and they showed the percentage of homes that were $100,000 or less, and then $200,000 less, and above $300,000, there was only 2% of the homes in Mississippi. So you would be correct with that.
Affordable housing.
Affordable housing, living within their means, which it's obviously when you get into areas like the D.C. metro area where credit seems like it's a little bit more available because there's more people that have jobs that have had consistent jobs for a period of time, and it's more expensive when you're closer to more jobs, the cost of owning a home is going to go up, so people tend to sometimes reach a little bit. And you could have an 800 credit score, but that doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily not default on a home loan. And with the lenders, from their lenders' perspective at this point, it's all about mitigating risk and trying to make an educated decision. But it's just my feeling that they've gone too far. And
Ryan, a good way to ruin an 800 credit score is by taking out too much credit because you have that credit score and then defaulting.
Absolutely, and there's numerous people that do just that. I mean, you could take advantage of your credit, and get $20,000-$30,000 credit cards, auto loans, home loans, until you no longer qualify anymore. And what ends up happening to some of those people, they end up in the bankruptcy. So just because you have a great credit score, I want to point this out because many people think that they're just not cut out to get a home loan because their credit score is not that great. And I want to tell you that to me, this is my personal opinion, it is important, but in the grand scheme of things, it's more important that you have the ability to repay that loan and not just looking at your credit score from history of maybe when you had some dings when you were a college student and you had too much debt. Louis, you and I talk pretty much at least every other show about, the student loan situation and how many people that are coming out of college, it's almost like a 50% of the college graduates are left unemployed at this point in time, and their student loans are not going away. They're still there. So for the future, looking down the road, it looks like education is at the forefront for whatever, at least Obama wants to continue to push the education card, that this is the wave of the future. This is the way to grow jobs, is to get a more experienced, more educated workforce out there, and I just don't see that as being the answer. I hope that people can start to see that, if you really want to start to turn things around, maybe in high school you tell people to be free thinkers and let them know that they can start their own businesses, and it's not just, you have to go to school because that's the only way that you're going to get a good paying job, because obviously as the statistics have shown, that's just not the case. And it's going to be very interesting to see how things play out over the next 10 years just because of where we are with the unemployment rate of the people that have just graduated. What are your thoughts long term as to the way this is going to play out for the people that are, getting ready to get out of college or currently out of college and currently searching for jobs?
Well, those people that are just getting out of college and looking for jobs are delaying their housing purchases. So that's not going to help take away the inventory that we have. And you also have on the flip side, as baby boomers retire, they'll probably be downsizing and moving into rentals. So this whole dynamic with young people and old people is not really good for the housing market over the next 10 years. I think what will eventually happen is that education will be seen, going to a university and spending 4 years not working and taking out debt to do so will be seen as a luxury as opposed to a necessity, and people will start to consume their education. I'm not saying people will be less educated in the future, but they'll consume their education online on more inexpensive means of education, just like we no longer spend hundreds of dollars on newspaper and magazine subscriptions. That doesn't mean we're any less read. We can just receive that information for far less cost. So I think that's what's going to happen in education. However, both Obama and Romney are talking about, keeping the Pell Grants and keeping the government involved in education. But remember, that's at the taxpayer's expense. And if the college students come out without jobs, they won't be able to pay. And if they don't pay and they default, guess who pays? Taxpayer once again. So that program will probably eventually collapse just like the housing market.
And what's very interesting about all that is when student loans get defaulted upon, good luck trying to get a mortgage. When it's if it's a government debt that you've defaulted on.
Well, and they're not dischargeable in bankruptcy either.
Yeah, they're not. And try to get a mortgage with that. Yeah, I mean it's little to no chance that you're going to be able to secure a mortgage when you have that type of government debt without paying it off in full, or at least bringing it current. So if that shows you anything, and we have basically 50% of the people that are coming out of college now that are unable to find a job, this is going to be a problem that's going to continue into the foreseeable future.
And the jobs that they get, Ryan, are lower paying, and their loans are increasingly larger because the cost of education keeps going higher because the government guarantees the loans. So the colleges and universities raise the tuition, knowing that, hey, we can get away with it because we're getting guaranteed loans coming our way.
Yeah, so if we were to kind of strip back some of all these loans, the colleges would be forced to, to bring down the prices of their tuitions.
And then you have competition, and some would go out of business, and some would provide a decent education at a decent price.
Yep.
And the rest will go online.
Well, we're coming up on a break, guys. When we come back, we're going to dive into the existing home sales from last week, the report. Prices rise for the 7th consecutive month, and I'll let you know more details when we come back. Stay right there.